The blizzard howled like a beast, tearing through the Colorado Rockies with a fury that swallowed sound and sight. Evelyn Harper, alone on the mountain trail, felt her heart pound as she stumbled through knee-deep snow, her flashlight beam cutting a frail path through the whiteout. 3 girls were out there lost, terrified, and running out of time. Evelyn, a park ranger with a decade of experience, had faced storms before, but this one was different. It was personal. The girls, all teenagers from a local foster home, had vanished during a group hike, and the radio crackled with desperation from the search team. Evelyn's gut churned with a memory she couldn't shake. Herself at 16 abandoned, shivering in a world that didn't care. She wouldn't let that happen to these kids. Her boots crunched against the icy slope as she pushed deeper into the forest, the wind stinging her face. At 32, Evelyn was no stranger to hardship. Raised in foster care, she clawed her way to stability, finding solace in the mountains and a quiet life in the small town of Silverpine. But stability didn't mean peace. The townsfolk whispered about her, about the way she kept to herself, about the rumors she might be different. Evelyn ignored them. She had a job to do. "Lila, where are you?" she muttered under her breath, her thoughts drifting to the one person who made her feel seen. Lila Monroe, the librarian with a smile like springtime, had been her anchor for months. They weren't official, not yet, but every stolen glance, every brush of hands felt like a promise. Evelyn clung to that warmth now, a beacon against the cold. The radio crackled again. "Harper, any sign of them?" The voice was strained, urgent. "Nothing yet," she replied, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "I'm at the ridge near Elk Creek. Heading north. Be careful. This storm's getting worse." Evelyn didn't respond. She couldn't afford to. Her flashlight caught something, a scrap of red fabric snagged on a branch. Her pulse quickened. It was a scarf, one of the girls. She scanned the area, her beam landing on faint footprints, already half buried by snow. They led toward a ravine. She moved faster, her breath ragged. The footprints grew chaotic, as if the girls had been running. Then she heard Ida faint cry, barely audible over the wind. Evelyn surged forward, her heart hammering. The ravine's edge loomed, and there they were. 3 girls huddled together against a rock face, their faces pale and tear-streaked. "Hey!" Evelyn called, dropping to her knees beside them. "I've got you. You're safe now." The oldest, Mia, maybe 17, looked up with wide, distrustful eyes. We thought no one was coming." "I'm here," Evelyn said, her voice firm but gentle. She checked them over, shivering, scared but unharmed. Sophie, the youngest at 14, clung to Mia while Tara, 16, stared blankly, her hands trembling. They were foster kids like Evelyn had been, and she knew the weight of their fun, not just of the storm, but of a world that had already let them down. "We need to move," Evelyn said, helping them up. "Stay close. I'll get you out of this." The trek back was brutal. The storm fought them every step, but Evelyn kept them moving, her voice a steady rhythm against the chaos. She told them stories, silly ones about her dog, Rusty, and his obsession with chasing squirrels to keep their minds off the cold. Slowly, the girls began to trust her. Mia even cracked a small smile when Evelyn described Rusty tripping over his own paws. By the time they reached the ranger station, the girls were exhausted but alive. The search team swarmed them, wrapping them in blankets, but Evelyn felt a pang of something deeper. These girls weren't just lost in the snow, they were lost in a system that didn't always care. She made a silent vow to check on them, to be the adult she'd needed at their age. As the girls were loaded into an ambulance, Evelyn caught sight of Lila waiting at the station's entrance, her auburn hair dusted with snow. Lila's eyes met hers, and for a moment the world stilled. No words were needed, just a look that said, "I'm proud of you. I'm here." "You're a hero," Lila said softly, stepping closer. Evelyn shook her head. Her cheeks flushed from more than the cold. "Just doing my job." But Lila's hand brushed hers, fleeting but deliberate, and Evelyn's heart skipped. It was a moment of quiet defiance in a town that didn't always understand them. Silverpine was small, conservative, and quick to judge. Their connection, still unspoken, was a secret they guarded fiercely. The days that followed were a blur. The girls recovered, and Evelyn visited them at the foster home, bringing books from Lila's library and treats for their foster siblings. Mia, Tara, and Sophie began to open up, sharing bits of their stories: broken homes, lost parents, dreams they barely dared to voice. Evelyn listened, her own past echoing in their words. She didn't promise them a perfect future, but she promised to show up. And she did. Lila joined her sometimes, her gentle humor coaxing laughs from the girls. They became a team, quietly supporting the trio. Evelyn taught them how to read trail maps. Lila read them poetry. It wasn't much, but it was something steady, something real. Months turned into a year, and Evelyn and Lila's bond deepened, though they kept it private. Silverpine wasn't ready for them, not yet. But in stolen moments, in the quiet of Lila's apartment or the solitude of a mountain trail, they built something unbreakable. Evelyn began to dream of a future where they didn't have to hide, where love wasn't a secret to be whispered. But secrets have a way of unraveling. And in a town like Silverpine, truth comes at a cost. The air in Silverpine carried a chill even in summer, as if the mountains held onto winter's memory. Evelyn and Lila had carved out a fragile happiness, meeting in secret, their love a quiet rebellion against the town's watchful eyes. But whispers were spreading, and Evelyn felt their weight like a storm brewing on the horizon. It started with small things: a pointed glance at the diner, a hushed conversation that stopped when Evelyn entered the room. Silverpine was a place where everyone knew everyone, and secrets were currency. Evelyn had always been an outsider, the foster kid turned ranger who didn't fit the town's mold. Lila, with her soft-spoken charm and library full of banned books, wasn't much better off. Together, they were a spark in a town ready to ignite. Evelyn tried to focus on her work. The mountains were her sanctuary, their vastness a reminder that the world was bigger than Silverpine's judgment. She'd check on Mia, Tara, and Sophie whenever she could, watching them grow stronger. Mia was applying to colleges, her sharp mindset on becoming a lawyer. Tara had found a passion for photography, her camera always in hand. Sophie, the quietest, was writing poetry, her words raw and beautiful. Evelyn felt a fierce pride in them, as if they were hers to protect. But the whispers grew louder. One evening, as Evelyn and Lila sat in Lila's apartment, a rock shattered the window. Glass sprayed across the floor, and a note tied to the rock read, "We know what you are. Leave." Lila's hands trembled as she picked it up, but Evelyn's rage burned hotter than her fear. "We can't let this scare us," Evelyn said, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "We're not doing anything wrong." Lila nodded, but her eyes were distant. I thought we could keep this ours. Just for a little longer." Evelyn took her hand, their fingers intertwining. "We will. But we're not running." The harassment didn't stop. Graffiti appeared on the library's walls, ugly words meant to wound. Evelyn's truck tires were slashed. The town council, led by a pastor named Richard Holt, began questioning Evelyn's fitness as a ranger, citing moral concerns. It was a witch hunt, and Evelyn knew it. Holt had never liked her, not since she'd challenged his push to ban books from Lila's library. Now he had a target. Lila, ever the optimist, tried to fight back quietly. She organized community readings, inviting the girls to share their work. Mia read a speech about justice, her voice steady despite the hecklers in the crowd. Tara's photos, stark images of the mountains, silenced the room with their beauty. Sophie's poetry, soft but piercing, brought tears to Evelyn's eyes. These girls, once lost, were finding their voices, and Evelyn would do anything to protect them. But the pressure was relentless. One night at a town hall meeting, Holt stood at the podium, his voice booming. "We cannot allow certain lifestyles to corrupt our community," he declared, his eyes locking on Evelyn in the back row. "Silverpine deserves better." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. Evelyn felt her face burn, but she stood tall. Lila, beside her, squeezed her hand under the table. Then Mia stood up, her 17-year-old frame small but unyielding. "You're talking about Evelyn, aren't you?" Mia said, her voice cutting through the room. "The woman who saved my life. Who saved us. You don't get to judge her." The room went silent. Tara and Sophie stood too, their faces defiant. "She's a hero," Tara said. "You don't know her." Sophie, barely audible, added, "She's family." Evelyn's throat tightened. She hadn't expected Thishant realized how much the girls had seen, how much they understood. Holt sputtered, but the moment shifted. A few townsfolk clapped, tentative at first, then louder. Not everyone agreed, but the girls' courage cracked the town's facade. That night, Evelyn and Lila walked home under a starlit sky, the girls trailing behind, laughing about the look on Holt's face. For the first time, Evelyn felt something shift, a possibility that Silverpine could change, that they could belong. But the fight wasn't over. Holt and his allies doubled down, spreading rumors that Evelyn and Lila were influencing the girls, twisting their act of care into something sinister. The accusations stung, but what hurt more was the fear in Lila's eyes. She'd always been the hopeful one, but now she was fraying. "We can leave," Lila whispered one night, curled against Evelyn on the couch. "Start over somewhere else." Evelyn's heart ached. Leaving meant giving up everything they'd built, the girls, the mountains, their quiet moments of joy. But staying meant fighting a town that might never accept them. "I'm not running," Evelyn said, her voice fierce. "Not from them. Not from us." Lila looked at her, eyes shining with tears and love. "Then we fight. Together." The seasons changed, but Silverpine's hostility lingered like frost that refused to thaw. Evelyn and Lila faced each day with defiance, their love a quiet fortress against the town's judgment. But the cracks in their armor were starting to show, and the girls Mia, Tara, and Sophie were caught in the crossfire. Evelyn threw herself into her work, patrolling the mountains with a focus that bordered on obsession. The trails were her refuge, but even there, she couldn't escape the whispers. Hikers she'd known for years now avoided her gaze, and a few left anonymous notes in her ranger station. "You don't belong here." Each one was a cut, small but deep. Lila, meanwhile, fought her own battles at the library. Pastor Holt's campaign to censor books had gained traction, and Lila was under scrutiny. Parents complained about her agenda, accusing her of pushing dangerous ideas on their kids. The truth was simpler. Lila gave the girls a safe space, a place to dream beyond Silverpine's narrow borders. But truth didn't matter to a town looking for scapegoats. The girls, now a year older, refused to stay silent. Mia, 18 and fearless, started a petition to protect the library's collection, gathering signatures from classmates and even a few sympathetic adults. Tara's photography project, a series on Silverpine's untold stories, included portraits of Evelyn and Lila, their faces radiant with quiet strength. Sophie, still shy, wrote an essay for the school paper about the meaning of family, dedicating it to Evelyn without naming her outright. Their courage inspired Evelyn, but it also terrified her. They were putting themselves at risk for her sake. One afternoon, as Evelyn helped Tara set up a photo exhibit at the community center, a group of Holt supporters stormed in. They tore down Tara's photos, calling them propaganda. Tara stood frozen, her camera clutched to her chest, as Evelyn stepped between her and the crowd. "Back off," Evelyn said, her voice low but unyielding. "She's a kid. She's done nothing wrong." One of the men, a local shopkeeper, sneered. "You're the problem, Harper. You and your friend." Evelyn's fists clenched, but Tara grabbed her arm. "Don't," she whispered. "They're not worth it." The incident made the local news, twisted into a story about community values under threat. Evelyn and Lila's names were dragged through the mud, and the girls faced bullying at school. Mia came home with a black eye one day, refusing to say who'd done it. Sophie stopped writing for weeks. Tara's camera was stolen, only to be found smashed in a dumpster. Evelyn felt like she was failing them. She'd saved them from the snow, but she couldn't save them from this. Late at night, she and Lila lay awake, grappling with the cost of staying. "We're hurting them," Lila said, her voice breaking. "Maybe if we left, they'd be safer." Evelyn's jaw tightened. "If we leave, we're telling them it's okay to let hate win." "I can't do that." Lila reached for her hand, her touch a lifeline. "Then we need a plan. Something bigger than us." The idea came from Mia, of all people. Over coffee at Lila's apartment, she slammed her fist on the table. "We need to show them who you are," she said. "Not the lies they're spreading. The real you." She proposed a community event, a vigil for unity, hosted by the girls. They'd share their stories, not just of the rescue but of everything Evelyn and Lila had done for them since. It was risky, but it was a chance to reclaim their narrative. Evelyn hesitated, but Lila's eyes lit up with a fire Evelyn hadn't seen in months. "Let's do it," Lila said. Let's show them what love looks like. Planning the vigil took weeks. The girls worked tirelessly, spreading the word through flyers and social media, despite the backlash. Evelyn and Lila stayed in the background, letting the girls lead. It was their story now, too. The night of the vigil arrived, crisp and clear under a sky full of stars. The community center was packed, a mix of supporters and skeptics. Evelyn stood at the back, her heart pounding as Mia took the stage. The girl who'd once been too scared to speak now commanded the room. 2 years ago I was lost, Mia began. Not just in the snow but in my life. I didn't think anyone cared. Then Evelyn found us. She didn't just save our lives, she gave us a reason to keep going. Tara and Sophie followed, their voices trembling but strong. They spoke of Evelyn's kindness, Lila's warmth, the home they'd found in their care. The crowd was silent, some faces softening, others still hard with judgment. Then Holt stood, his voice cutting through the quiet. This is a distraction, he said. We're here to talk about values, not heroics. Evelyn's heart sank, but before she could respond, Sophie stepped forward, her small frame shaking. Love is a value, she said. And they taught me that. The room erupted, some in cheers, others in jeers. Evelyn felt Lila's hand slip into hers, and for the first time they didn't let go. The vigil changed everything and nothing. Silverpine was split, the fault lines deeper than ever. Evelyn and Lila woke each day to a town that felt both hopeful and hostile, their love now an open secret they could no longer hide. The girls became their shield. Mia, Tara, and Sophie refused to back down, their voices growing louder. Mia organized a student group at school, advocating for acceptance. Tara's new photo series, displayed at the library, captured the beauty of diverse families, subtle but unmistakable in its message. Sophie's poetry readings drew crowds, her words a quiet rebellion against hate. They were no longer just survivors, they were fighters. But the cost was steep. Holt's allies escalated their attacks, targeting the girls to hurt Evelyn and Lila. Mia's college applications were mysteriously delayed, rumored to be the work of a school board member loyal to Holt. Tara faced vandalism at her exhibits, her prints defaced with slurs. Sophie's foster parents, under pressure, threatened to move her to another town. Evelyn felt the weight of their pain like a stone in her chest. We're dragging them into this, she told Lila one night, pacing their apartment. They're kids. They shouldn't have to fight our battles. Lila's eyes were fierce. They're fighting for themselves too. They're not just doing this for us. Evelyn stopped, struck by the truth in her words. The girls weren't just defending them, they were carving out their own place in a world that tried to silence them. Still, the guilt gnawed at her. She'd saved them once, but now she felt powerless to protect them from this storm. The breaking point came in spring, when Holt announced a town vote to reassess the library's funding, a thinly veiled attempt to oust Lila. The meeting was set for the community center, and the town buzzed with tension. Evelyn knew it was more than a vote, it was a referendum on their existence. The night before the meeting, the girls showed up at Lila's apartment, their faces a mix of determination and fear. Mia held a stack of letters, testimonials from library patrons, teachers, even a few parents who'd quietly supported Lila's work. Tara had printed new photos, ones that showed the library as a haven for kids like them. Sophie clutched a notebook, her latest poem scrawled inside. We're not letting them win, Mia said. We're telling everyone what this place means. Evelyn's throat tightened. You don't have to do this. Yes, we do, Tara said. You showed us how to be brave. The meeting was a battlefield. Holt spoke first, his words dripping with righteousness, framing Lila as a threat to traditional values. The crowd was divided, some cheered, others whispered in dissent. Evelyn sat in the front row, her hands clenched, as Lila stood to defend herself. I've spent my life building a place where everyone belongs, Lila said, her voice steady but raw. This library isn't just books. It's a home for kids who have none. If you take that away, you're not protecting values, you're destroying hope. The room erupted in murmurs. Then Mia stood, holding her stack of letters. I was one of those kids, she said. Lila gave me a place to dream. Evelyn gave me a reason to believe. You can't take that from us. Tara and Sophie joined her, sharing their stories. Tara's photos were passed around, each one a testament to the library's impact. Sophie read her poem, her voice soft but piercing. They saved us from the snow slash and taught us how to grow slash in a world that says no slash. They showed us how to glow. The crowd was silent, the air heavy with emotion. Even some of Holt's supporters looked shaken. Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes, not just for the girls' courage but for the love that had brought them here. She reached for Lila's hand, no longer caring who saw. Holt tried to regain control, but the momentum had shifted. A retired teacher stood, then a parent, then a local business owner, each speaking in support of Lila and the library. The vote was close, but the library's funding was preserved barely. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a start. As they left the community center, Evelyn and Lila walked hand in hand, the girls beside them. The stars above Silverpine felt brighter, as if the town itself was exhaling. "We're not done," Mia said, her eyes fierce. "This is just the beginning." Evelyn smiled, her heart full. "I know," she said. "And we're in it together." Years passed and Silverpine began to change, not overnight, but in small, stubborn ways. Evelyn and Lila built a life together. Their love no longer a secret but a quiet truth that some in town came to accept. The girls grew into women, each carving their own path, but they never forgot the ones who'd saved them. Mia earned a scholarship to law school, her fierce spirit undimmed. She returned to Silverpine during breaks, helping kids in foster care navigate the system she'd survived. Tara's photography gained recognition, her work featured in galleries far beyond Colorado. Sophie published a poetry collection, her words a beacon for others searching for their voice. They stayed close, bound by a bond forged in snow and strengthened by love. But the past wasn't done with them. Pastor Holt, though diminished, hadn't given up. When a national news outlet picked up the story of Silverpine's divisive library vote, Holt seized the chance to reignite his crusade. He organized a rally, claiming the town was under attack by outsiders. His target once again was Evelyn and Lila. The rally was set for the town square, a public spectacle meant to shame them. Evelyn felt the old fear return, but Lila's resolve was unshakable. "We've faced worse," she said, kissing Evelyn's forehead. "And we're not alone." The day of the rally arrived, cold and gray, with a crowd gathering under banners of family values. Holt took the stage, his voice booming with familiar venom. Evelyn and Lila stood at the edge of the square, their hands clasped, bracing for the worst. Then something extraordinary happened. Mia, Tara, and Sophie appeared, now in their 20s, leading a group of young people, former foster kids, library patrons, and allies from across Silverpine. They carried signs. "Love is strength. Heroes don't hide. We stand with them." Mia took the microphone, her voice clear and commanding. "You all know Evelyn Harper," she said. "She saved my life. She saved Tara and Sophie. She didn't just pull us out of a storm, she gave us a home. And Lila Monroe gave us a place to belong. They're not the problem. They're the reason we're here." Tara stepped forward, her camera flashing as she documented the moment. "This is our town too," she said. "And we're done letting fear win." Sophie, her voice stronger now, read a new poem. "They stood in the snow slash when no one else would go slash. They loved without shame slash and gave us a name." The crowd was stunned. Some of Holt's supporters walked away, their faces uncertain. Others stayed, listening. A few clapped, then more, until the square rang with applause, not for Holt, but for the girls, for Evelyn and Lila, for the truth they dared to speak. Holt tried to shout over them, but his voice was drowned out. The rally collapsed, not in chaos but in a quiet shift. Silverpine wasn't perfect, but it was listening. For the first time, Evelyn felt like she could breathe. That night, they gathered at Lila's apartment, Mia, Tara, Sophie, and a handful of others who'd stood with them. They laughed, shared stories, and dreamed of a future where no one had to hide. Evelyn looked at Lila, her heart swelling with a love that had survived storms, both literal and figurative. "You were right," Evelyn said, pulling Lila close. "We weren't alone." Lila smiled, her eyes bright. "We never were." The girls raised their glasses, toasting to courage, to love, to the family they'd built. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and quiet, blanketing Silverpine in a new kind of peace. Evelyn knew the fight wasn't over, not for them, not for the world. But they'd face the worst and come out stronger. And in that moment, under the stars, they were unstoppable.